to where your horse needs, but here's the best place to start shortening it. And then have it the shortest right here, because here's the hardest part of the work. Go back long. Question. If this is your first barrel, we've got to add the arc straight between the two barrels, 5 foot out. We've got to complete the tight curve earlier. The action point's back here. This little amount right here is a few 100ths of a second. If you go to Waco, Texas, Labor Day, they cut the entries off at 3,000. A few hundreds really affect you. Really affect you. If you go to a jackpot around my area that's small, got 30 people entered, 3 100ths doesn't affect you that much. Question.
What about a horse that you that's too setty? I mean, just anticipates it so much.
Wants to overwork. Anytime they do, when they get right here, and I know from experience when I ran him yesterday at Lincoln, or yesterday right here at practicing, when he gets right here, I'm going to take him, and right here I'm going to say, listen to me, and I'm going to move him out and go to running a horse race right here. And I'm going to keep moving him away from that barrel while I'm going around there. And I'm going to come back in and come right back in here and move him out and do it again. Come back in and right here move him out again. Unless I feel him the third time I start around here or the second time start going. Then I'm going to bring him in right then and make a regular turn. Then I'm going to go somewhere else than home to see if he's changed yet.
Okay.
But anytime they set too much, free them up. Don't run them that way or run them to the fence. When you go to the fence, you quit the barrel in their mind, but what happens when you get to the fence?
Yeah,
you know?
You roll back.
So, it's just like right here. If they came here and set a barrel right here to free him up, this is all the room I have, but I'd go clear to this fence and nearly knock the dust off of my stirrups.
Okay.
And I'd go around it real wide to free him up with a barrel too close to the fence.
Okay.
You get to a few of those rodeos in the old days, and the first 2 or 3 people entered would set the stakes. And the ones that had a runaway horse would put the barrel there, and those that had a setting horse would put the barrel way out here. You know, it didn't matter where they put it to me. My horse just needed to go function in that situation. But when I can get in this arena, show him the gate, the dirt, everything in here, and work, whether the barrel's there or not, just dry work without barrels, I can get him ready for this arena way better. I can prepare him. But anytime you need to free him up, that's the way.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Hold the same lead. Let's go. Now, when we talk about training a horse, more important away from home than home. Now let's talk about seasoning. Season is different than train. Season means everything he sees, hears, smells, or mud slapping him in the belly, he sees. Okay? That's what seasoning is. And until you get a horse that's seen everything, especially if you're going to rodeos, because rodeos are liable to have a Ferris wheel, they may have a buffalo act right before you, they may have ostriches in there, there ain't any living telling what they're going to have. Well, that day, whatever event they're going to have right before the barrel race, if you're one of the first 3 to run, you better go find that event and desensitize that horse if it's a buffalo or an ostrich or anything weird. Okay? So you may have to prepare him all his life because they're always coming up with something strange around those rodeos. Let's go. You have any questions? Ask them if you do. Now, right down here is a little different monster. I know some horses and some people that think about running out of this pen before they finish this curve. You don't let a horse, and you don't think about leaving this pen till the curve is finished right here. Then you think about going out. I know a lot of people, a lot of horses that think about something else. And do not come around the barrel and look back behind you to see if you knocked it over, because you're sure probably going to affect what's coming up. And it doesn't matter if you just make a little dido right here. Ride your horse and go forward Don't worry about something you can't change. Worry about something you can control ahead of it. Now, questions? Now, again, let's repeat. If I can get in here ahead of time and do what my horse needs, my horse and I are going to be better in here. If I'm riding an old welfare horse, he needs some runs, more than a real live horse. He needs some quiet work. So quiet works to keep him quiet, fast works to keep him fast. But you got to mix them just right according to the individual horse. Questions about anything? Okay. Did everybody get a number? Okay. If you're number 1 and you're doing something, I'm going on to 2 and 3. And if you get here and say I'm here, I'll say good. I'll pick you up right after the horse we're working. You don't have to be here at your number. This didn't get turned out. You know, it's just to kind of keep things rolling. And when you get here, we'll pick you up and go. Now, is there any question about where you touch a horse's mouth with a bridle? Everybody know that you only can touch either cheek, tongue, jawbone, or roof of mouth, nose, and curb chain, or curb leather strap, or no strap. Which is best? The jawbone, the roof of the mouth, the cheek, or the tongue? Whatever you've educated on the horse. I have my horse educated to accept all contact in there, accept it first, respond to it second. Okay? 3-piece mouthpiece chain gets more tongue, jawbone, no roof of mouth. Ported bit, flat bar, bar meaning what sits on the jawbone. In horsemanship terms, you call the jawbone bar of mouth. In horsemanship terms, the part of the bit that sits on the jawbone is called bar. Well, they need to be separated in words. So I'm going to say jawbone and bar of bit. Mullen-shaped bit doesn't hit the roof of the mouth as much. Mullen shape is a little more forgiving on the jawbone. We'll touch a little more of combination of tongue, jawbone, and cheek. Straight. You need to shoe that horse different. It doesn't get around good. Straight bar bit talks to the jawbone, pretty aggressive, and gets the roof of the mouth. Curb chain, when you've got leverage on a bit, which leverage on a bit is shank and purchase. Shank is the leverage from the mouthpiece down. Purchase is from the mouthpiece up. The more purchase you have, the more pole pressure you get. When I take a baby colt and start educating him when he is 3 days old, I'll get between his ears and on his nose and get him to give 1/1,000th of an inch, to where someday I can take his pole between his ears and his nose and do whatever I want with his feet and the rest of his body. Someday means when he's educated to that level. I break a colt to ride when he first stands up to nurse his mother. I catch his shoulders and his hips. We give him colostrum and do everything else you do to a colt, but that says whoa. The next morning I catch him, say whoa, turn him right 1/2 inch, left 1/2 inch, back him up 1/2 inch, carry him forward. The third morning, repeat all that, plus pet the bottom of his feet to get him ready to be shod, put my finger in his mouth to get him ready for a bit. I've got a bed sheet, a radio, a trash bag. I get him used to everything the third day he's alive that he's ready to get used to. Now, if you goo-goo him and let him play with you like you're another colt, where he kicks you, paws you, and bites you, you spoil him. If you let him touch you and get to be a good family member and you educate him where by the time you saddle him when he's 2 years old, he's already broke the ride pretty well. Questions?
And I've got a little horse, I'm not sure what bit to use. I've got several bits. And when I use, when I have in
All right, and who's going to answer it for us is the horse. And we get on him, and we stand beside him, and we get the left rein and get him to give us his head and neck. And then we get him to step across properly behind, not improperly, properly. Then we get him to step across a little bit in front. Then we step around to the right side and do the same thing. Then we get on his back, get his head and neck, back feet, front feet, okay? And then, after we've introduced ourselves to the bit and him, and he's introduced himself to the bit and us, we see what we like. We see what response we get. Now, just like my granddaughter asked me a while ago, if we just own one bit, money's tough, or we're a tightwad and we're not going to buy another bit, well then we're just going to have to up our horsemanship to make that bit work. But a great mechanic isn't going to have one wrench, you know. And so what we're going to do is we're going to utilize some different things, but the horse totally tells us. Now, whatever we put on, we make sure it never makes him pink raw. We make sure it never pinches, okay? And pink and raw on an old heavy mouth rascal, people go, well, it really helps them for 2 or 3 days. It does. But then every one of them's going to go ouch eventually, and when it heals, it's going to be scar tissue that is number, more negative. So I don't like pink and raw at any time, anywhere. Okay? Now, question. Okay, let's saddle up.